MAC has reformulated their very popular MAC Studio Fix foundation, so let's give this a try and see what the differences are. It retails for $44 and it is 1 fluid ounce. There are 67 different shades and they include olive tones. It is supposed to have a soft matte finish. It is oil-free, waterproof, has SPF 15, and is supposed to be very good for sensitive skin, and it also is supposed to look pretty natural. It is supposed to control oil and hydrate, and it is supposed to be full coverage enough to cover blemishes all on its own. I also have the old formula here. It has no pump, so that's definitely an upgrade. And this one is in NW10. The new formula I got in NW5. One is slightly darker than the other. The old formula was very popular, so let's try this new one and see how it compares to the old one. Okay, let's start this wear test with my skin prep. I am 48 years old. I have combo 2 very oily skin, and I have a lot of texture in these areas that I'm constantly working on. So sometimes it looks worse than other times. Right now we're doing a little bit better because I just did lasers, and I'm constantly on tretinoin, and I will say that right now I kind of overdid it with the tretinoin just a little bit, so I am a bit on the dry side. Here's what I used today to skin prep because I felt a little extra textured today because of the dryness. I started with this Time Revolution, the Missha, their moist essence. I just started trying this one. I really like it. It really kind of gives you that nice moisturized feel without being sticky. So it's a great base, especially when you need something to sink in and you're feeling like extra dry. And then I decided to use this Paula's Choice Gel Moisturizer. It's Invisible Finish Moisture Gel with niacinamide and hyaluronic acid. This is kind of an oldie but a goodie. It's got a very gel texture, and I like something with that kind of texture. Actually, I'm going to put just a little bit more on because why not? Whenever I have a little extra textured, I like things that have a gel or silicone-y feel to it because I feel like it not only will moisturize, but it sits on top of and sort of levels out some of that extra texture and dryness. So I'm using that one today. And then finally for my SPF, I am using my favorite Tarte BB cream and primer. It has SPF 30. We're not getting too sunny here yet in the Seattle area. I'm gonna put this where I just removed some, but we'll move up to SPF 50 when we hit the summer months here. Okay, and as you can see, this really sort of gives you a really nice, smoother base to work from. Only other thing that I did is I put a little bit of concealer underneath my eyes. I'll actually probably add a little bit more after we're done. I just wanted to start without the bluest of the blue under eyes. Okay, so we are all set to go. I am going to start by using this with my fingers, and then I'm going to use a brush. And then I'm actually going to break my usual rules, and I'm going to use a sponge today because this one feels thick when you put it on, and I feel like it might look best if I used a sponge. So let's start with our fingers. Okay. And I'm just gonna, yeah, see right here, this is where I feel the thickness. Boy, this is light. So unfortunately, I am right between the two lightest colors. This is NW5. NW10 is just a little bit too dark for me. So what I'm really gonna do, since I have the old Studio Fix, is I am probably going to mix in the darker color, the NW10, with this new one, and I'll use that as my mixer, but I wasn't gonna go spend another $44 on another one of these just to get the exact right color, especially when I know I already have that other one. Okay, it went on pretty well with just the fingers. So now I'm just gonna use this foundation brush. This is a little bit fluffier one. I'm gonna use this to sort of lightly buff this around and see how that goes. This is beautiful. So this is definitely on the lighter side, as you can see. You know, I think this is actually, especially with a little bit of powder, I think that this is the right color for me. And I can adjust it, but I don't think I'm gonna need to. Actually, once you sort of buff it out, just enough of your skin sort of shows through that I think, at least for me, this color is gonna work. Let me take my Stands Out sponge. I always like tamping things down because I see just a tiny bit of texture. And let's see how this looks. And then I will go get my sponge and we will try that application as well. Boy, that looks really good. So far, I really like the finish on this. This is not gonna need a ton of powder. It is a matte one, which is interesting because the old Studio Fix doesn't mention matte at all. And I never really thought of this as matte. I have thought of it as sort of satin. This one specifically says that it is how many hour? 24-hour matte. I'm not leaving my makeup on for 24 hours. If that happens, something bad, something went wrong. I still got my makeup on for 24 hours. That's not gonna happen, but I think they're saying it's gonna last you a long time. We'll see. My skin will challenge that claim, I'm sure. You can see a little bit of glow. I would say it's actually very similar to the previous one with just a tad less glow. It is not near as matte and dry as it felt on my hand when I put it on. So far, I have high hopes for this. Oh, I'm excited because I really like the original Studio Fix quite a lot. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, let me go get the sponge. Okay, since sponges eat up everything, I'm gonna put a little bit more on my hand here so that I can work my sponge into it. This is a damp sponge, not a soaked sponge. Okay. Oh yeah, very light application this way. Which, you know, that's why people use the sponges. Oh no. You know what this is? It's patchy this way. Okay, no, this is really patchy this way. Ooh, I don't like it. See, this is why I don't like sponges, y'all. I don't think I do them right. In fact, I'm pretty sure. Like, that's my problem. But I have not spent near as much time with sponges as I have with brushes and stuff. Okay, well, it's working out. Okay, we're working it out. We're getting it. Okay, so it's glowier this way. Shocker, there's a little bit of moisture on this, so of course it's going to be glowier. It's pretty this way too. Actually, if you want the kind of glowy, it almost looks like I'm not wearing any kind of foundation, at least in person. Whereas this is definitely a little more even, a little more dry, maybe a little more textured. Okay, so take it or leave it. You can decide which one you want to go for. Today, I am going to actually use this to sort of even everything out. Then I'm going to go in with a brush and I'm going to see how this builds up. But my dry skin today, starting dry, it'll be oily later, trust me. It's really liking the sponge today. That's really pretty. Maybe I need to pull these sponges out more with my skin being like it is. I am going to hit it with the dry Stands Out sponge just real quick in the high points where I feel like it is extra dewy from the sponge. This is first application without any kind of powder and no building up. Let's go ahead and try building it up. I'm going to get my little brush, well, medium brush that I like to use for adding extra. I got way too much on my brush. Because I did that, I'm going to get another brush, same brush. This one doesn't have a bunch of product all over it, and we're going to use that to buff it out. This is working great, and it is. See, I just covered up that redness. You could definitely use this for extra coverage and not need to use a concealer, except for maybe spot concealing bumps. Even then, this offers so much coverage, so much buildable coverage. I think you possibly could use this as just your concealer. I don't know, I'm not gonna try, but I don't think I would put this underneath my eyes. It is supposed to be matte. Usually it's not gonna go really well under the eyes, so I'm not gonna test that. I don't usually wear makeup quite this heavy, but this is perfect for like night out. If you really want like a full-on flawless face and you're not really concerned about looking ultra natural in, you know, natural daylight, this will give you that like, whoa, your skin is flawless kind of look. At least that's what I'm seeing so far. We'll see how it wears. Certainly the original Studio Fix, it makes your skin look absolutely flawless. I'm going to be doing this as a daytime wear test, so I actually like that it's removing a little bit of the excess and it looks a little more natural, so I don't look like cake facey out today. It's using this to sort of work it in and make it look skin-like. Sponges, dry or wet, are going to give you that more skin-like sort of finish with just about any foundation. I think most people could get away without powdering this. That is not me. I am a fan of powder. I am going to be using powder. Here's what it looks like. Couple layers in my problem areas. Don't know if you can see it, but it definitely, the reason I want to powder is because I'm still seeing, it's really faint, but I'm seeing my texture. And it's just enough that I know that you would see this in person, up close with somebody. And powder really sort of just airbrushes that away for you. Okay, powder next. I'm going to use my Givenchy powder, and we're just going to quickly put this very, very lightly in the T-zone. This is my favorite powder. This is the one I use every time. Here it is powdered. I think it looks flawless. This is really, really gorgeous. Great way to start. I know I look white as hell, but I am going to be using some of the new blushes that I have been getting from the Sephora sale. Why they had to make this, they're like, oh, we made a really interesting new way of opening that. Frick. Okay, there. This is a beautiful, beautiful blush. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on right now. I had to order this from Sephora because they don't have it in store. But if you are the fairest of the fair, like me, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. If you want something that looks, I wouldn't say natural because it's bubblegum pink. Like, who is bubblegum pink? But this is such a pretty, very, very natural looking cream formula for those of us who are ultra fair. It's what I've been looking for a while. I like to find powder versions of this color as well, but I didn't have a good, really ultra light pink version in cream. Just adding blush really sort of breaks up how light the foundation is on me. Okay, all right, I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup and then we will start the wear test. I have high hopes for this one. Here we are up close so you can really see. I think it looks great at this point, but if you look real close, you do still see a little bit of my texture spots, but I mean, like, who's gonna get up this close on you? I still think that this is really, really pretty. For being matte, it's not drying. Okay, so here's where we're starting. I lowered the lights just a little bit to make sure that you can really see what it looks like. I think it's beautiful. It is a little bit too white for my neck. In the future, I am probably going to mix in the NW10 with the NW5 just so that it really doesn't stick out as being masky because it is so light. In the future, you know, not for this wear test, I will mix the two together since, as far as I can tell, the formulas are real darn close. I'm going to have to do a little research to find out what the differences were and why they reformulated it. But for now, I think the finish is beautiful. I am seeing a little bit of texture in my texture areas, but I am so dry right now. And I think it's just, there's nothing for it. And honestly, you'd have to get right up on me to see it. And I don't think anybody's gonna really see that. I think I can see it and I can feel it because it's uncomfortable due to the tretinoin. I'm just dry. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Okay, so I think this is a really good place to start. And I'm feeling pretty good. One thing I will mention right away, I was scared it was going to be too matte because the other one had this sort of diffuse satin glow to it. So does this one. I just don't see in the finish the difference. So, okay, great. I think a lot of people didn't really want them to change Studio Fix. I'm not really sure. Again, I'll have to look into why they did. Okay, so this is 0 hour and here's where we are starting the wear test. Okay, this is 0 hours still, but this is down in natural light. And you can see it looks really flawless. Okay, this is 1 hour in natural light. I feel a little dry, but pretty comfortable, and there's really no change. So far, so good. This is really, really pretty. Okay, this is 3 hours at pickup. Here's what I wanted to show you. See that dry texture? That's one thing that is kind of, you know, accentuated with this particular formula, especially since I am extra dry in those areas right now. This is a thicker, more makeup-y kind of finish, so unfortunately, if you have texture, you're probably going to see it. Here's about 4 hours, and it is, see, my oils are starting to break through just a little bit, and the texture is there, but it's actually a little bit less because the oils are sort of evening it out a little bit. But it's also rubbed off of my chin a little bit here. 5 hours, and I'm seeing oily breakthrough. So, you know, pretty standard for me. Between 5 and 6 hours, usually a foundation is done for me because I am so oily. This is not bad. However, it is really, really coming off right around my nose. I really want to wipe it off, but it's not like my whole face has gone completely oily, but I am getting dewy and glowy. It has actually gotten a little more comfortable because it was a little bit drying on me before. I don't feel dry or tight at all now because my oils have broken through. And the biggest thing is I really have been finding that this one transfers a lot. So every time I accidentally, anytime I accidentally touch my face, I do end up with not a ton. It's not like it just wipes right off, but enough, especially right around my nose. My nose kept sort of like feeling tickly, itchy, like I really wanted to rub around my nose, and that's probably why some of it is missing, and I kept like just barely touching it. I mean, I don't normally feel like I need to do that. It did that because it was a little bit too dry feeling right there. I looked online, and supposedly this one is supposed to be a soft matte, and the last one was supposed to be a little more satin. So this one's supposed to be more matte, but not drying. For me, it has been a little bit drying, even though I put a ton of like moisturizers underneath it. I did start out with sort of over dried skin though. So, and that's why I put all those moisturizers on. So I don't know. It's still performing and looking better than most foundations, especially like skin tints and serums. But I feel like this is not performing quite as well as the original formula at this point. The whole time I've been struggling to not have it look makeup-y, especially in this area. It is catching in that texture a little bit. So we'll have to see what my final thoughts are, but at this point, I am thinking that I prefer the original formula. This is not bad though, really. I mean, they're both really, really good. Let's put it that way. It's, you know, like choosing between ice cream and cake. I don't know, they're both good. What are you in the mood for? And what are your skin needs? It has now been 8 hours. I would say it held up pretty well. I am, however, pretty evenly dewy, as you can see. Like, I definitely would have powdered and probably wiped some of this off by now, but it's very comfortable. And I mean, honestly, this is like 8 hours. I looked up online, and the differences are, obviously, the new one comes with a pump. So that's actually really cool because I never did get a pump for this one. It's a pain in the butt to use, right? It has no scent. The old one, I don't remember if it had a scent. I think it did. The old one smells like paint thinner. Obviously, that doesn't smell great. This one, let me see if it smells. This one has almost no scent at all. That's actually quite nice. This one specifically is supposed to be controlling oil. Obviously, on some of us who are very oily in the T-zone, it controlled it for maybe 4 to 5 hours max. And then I did start to have breakthrough. So I wouldn't say that this is the best oil controlling one. The new Urban Decay one, even though this one is not as pretty as this one because it's more drying, this one actually controls oil. Like it says it controls oil, it friggin' does. So, very few of them, honestly, who say that they control oil actually do it on my face. I think I'm on the end of the spectrum where, like, I get real oily, obviously. So I'm a challenge. That's why I said earlier, like, just you wait. I'm going to challenge this one. And I did. What's interesting is that supposedly this is supposed to be a soft matte, and this was supposed to be a matte matte. I found that strange when I looked that up online because I've never seen this one as a matte matte. It doesn't say matte anywhere on it, and when I bought it, I wasn't thinking it was matte, and when I have worn it, I've never thought this was matte. This always looked satin on me, and at least in the past, I thought this was more satin than this one. That's not how it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna have to do a wear test, and I'll give you my final thoughts on whether I think that the reformulation is better or not. But what I can tell you for now is what I think of this one, the reformulation, just on its own. I think it is a great, like, medium to, this, you can get really full coverage with this. This is a beautiful, beautiful foundation. I think it's going to work well for most skin types. I think if you're ultra dry or ultra oily, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But it has enough of a viscosity to it that even if you're ultra dry, I don't think it's going to catch in dry patches too bad. I just think that you're going to have to be careful how you apply it, and you're going to have to really moisturize any kind of dry patches you might have. It was pretty good with texture. My one complaint with it, aside from it not really controlling my oil any better than a lot of foundations, it's not the worst, it's not the best for me, is that it looked a little makeup-y to me. And also the other complaint, and this is just me, they have 67 shades. I've even seen online, some people said it's 71, but the MAC site says there's 67 shades. They don't have my shade. So I have to mix. I'm going to have to mix this lightest NW5 with the next lightest NW10. They have an NC10 as well that can sort of work, but it's more neutral. I thought it looked a little too orangey, whereas this one actually has more of a pinky, peachy undertone. So I still have to mix two of them to get my right color. So with all those shades, I'm challenging the oil control, and I'm challenging their many, many shades. But apparently they have olive tones now, which is also really good. I think everybody's kind of finally waking up to. There's this whole olive tone, skin tone that is real hard for, if you have olive tone, it's real hard for you to find something that matches because you're left with orange or pink, and neutrals usually just mean peachy, honestly. So if you're olive, all of that's going to look like trash on you. So these sort of muddy, muted out, a little bit of green mixed in olive tones, that's a great new addition for people who have probably been looking for something that works for them for a long time. All in all, it's still MAC Studio Fix. It's still a really great, more full coverage. It's a bit more like Estee Lauder Double Wear. Not quite as matte, not quite as heavy, has a little more glow to it, but it does give you like really good coverage. I definitely prefer this to Estee Lauder Double Wear. I know that is a lot of people's like ride or die. That one is too makeup-y, too heavy for me. So I think that if you want to go sort of in that vein, something like this is going to be better if you don't want it to be as heavy as those. But it's not as light as like a NARS light reflecting or something like that. So I think this is a great perfect down the middle. So yeah, I wouldn't be too terribly afraid so far. Like if you just loved the original Studio Fix and you're like, oh no, they ruined it. I don't think so. I think there's actually a lot of really good upgrades. I love that there's a pump on it. Yes. I love that it doesn't smell like paint thinner. Yes. Supposedly there's some better skincare ingredients in here. Meh. okay, whatever. I'm not using my foundation as skincare. I mean, honestly, I know that that's a thing now. Everybody's got to do it, but I guess it's nice if you have like niacinamide and things like that in there, especially if you have oily skin, things that might kind of help control oil a little bit, but in general, it's not what you should be relying on for your skincare most likely. So, okay. I still wish they had my shade. That's a me problem, but do I recommend this for most people? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really good. And then I will go ahead and insert what I think of the old one as I do a full wear test on that again and just kind of give you my final thoughts on that. I'm doing the second wear test today and I am comparing the new one with the old one. On my face, you can just barely tell that this one is NW10. It's a little bit darker, great for summer. And this is the NW5, which is definitely a bit lighter. So this is supposed to be soft matte. This is supposed to be matte matte. I don't have any powder on at this point. I've turned my lights down. I'm hoping you can really see. I gotta say, so this is just a tad less glowy over here, but I do have sunscreen underneath, and that always gives me sunscreen and moisturizer. It always gives me a little bit of glow. I've been really dry lately, and but then I get really oily later in the day regardless. So at any rate, I am well moisturized underneath this, and I think that the glow you're seeing is actually from those products. So that said, I don't know, when I was putting them on, I couldn't really tell the difference so much other than that this is lighter and this is darker. Some people say that this is supposed to be a little more fluid. I did not notice that. I actually think that this one was a little more fluid for me in the way that it, goes on. Once I powder this down, I think they're going to be indistinguishable. And then I'm just going to go ahead and see how this wears today. Okay, it's powdered. This is how we're starting the wear test. Okay, this is 2 hours in, and I gotta say, it wore pretty much exactly the same. I actually was a little drier today and didn't have as much oily breakthrough. They both held up pretty much the same. As I always like to do, let's show cleanup. It didn't get much worse past probably 6-7 hours. It's kind of been like this for a while. I've been wanting to wipe it off my face. It's missing here on my chin. It's missing around my nose. I've had some transfer down here. Let's see if we can clean this up real quick with my old foundation brush and see if it's good to go. Like, in reality, when I'm not doing a wear test, I would never let my makeup get like this. I'd be powdering throughout the day. I would worry with this one, if you're powdering with a heavier, like colored powder too much, you're probably going to start looking cakey with this because it is a little more makeup-y. It's not like a serum one or something that sort of sinks in and disappears and is very thin. You definitely have makeup on it. If you look up close at you, you can see that you have makeup on with this one. I do think that the previous Studio Fix was not as much like that for me. So let's go ahead and clean this one up and see how it goes. I get the feeling it's going to be pretty good. The one problem is that I am just flat missing some of it, especially off of my chin. Oh, it's not bad though. If you just move some of that grease around. Sorry, that's so disgusting. So yeah, this one cleans up pretty well. It's just a tad bit broken up here. That's, when you have a little bit of dry, scaly skin with the oily skin and that texture, it's really hard to get that to disappear again. So I'm going to go ahead and powder that real quick. Okay, so that cleaned up really, really nice. I think that looks really good. Let me know if you have any questions, and also let me know if you have tried the previous one and the new one. If this was your favorite and now you hate it. If you've never tried any of these and you're curious to try them. If you haven't subscribed yet, I sure would appreciate if you would give me a like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel to grow, and I really appreciate you guys being here. Okay, hope you're having a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video.